There is no reason that I am doing this aside from wanting to get it over with, but we have Reset and Eververse all in one video, so let's get into it. So starting right off the bat, the launch of Nightfalls has officially happened, GMs are active, and as an addition we have increased Vanguard Booster and Double Nightfall. That is one of the important things. As well, the quest for the Wish Keeper Strand Exotic Bow has also launched. Just as another side note, two important things right off the bat. The Nightfall this week is currently the Lake of Shadows, which is one of the harder ones nowadays, just because of its revamp. And we do not have the Conqueror node just yet, so you can do one and get the check mark for Conqueror, but if you want to sort it out, you're going to need more to wait for the Gilding node, which will let you play any one as long as it is currently active. Now, the modifiers included are all three Elemental Shields, Barrier, and Unstoppable, dealing with Cabal and Taken, Arc Threat for incoming arc damage being increased, then usual Grandmaster modifiers, then Scorched Earth for more grenades thrown at you, Chaffano Radar, Seasonal Overcharge, as well as Strain and Solar, and Overcharge Machine Gun. And then the weapon for this week. We had a few options. It is Double Nightfall week. Here's hoping it's something new. It is the new Undercurrent Grenade Launcher, which this is the first time it's available, and this is also the first time it's adept. So whether or not this will actually hold a candle to Forbearance or other Waveframe Grenade Launchers, we just have to wait and see for that, honestly. But of course, Double Nightfall week, so if you actually manage to get it, you should get one or two, or maybe even more of them if you are so inclined, as well as Double Nightfall ciphers. So in terms of purchasing one, you only need to do 3 Nightfalls before you can buy one, if you do them at all. On that same note, like I said, the Wish Keeper Exotic Mission is launched, and let's see if it's going to be available in collections off the front bat. It's not exotic. No, it's not heavy. Yeah, no, it's not showing just yet, but, you know, it's supposedly got a lot of Suspend and Tangle and just general Strand subclass trickery with it. But on that note, time to start moving throughout the world. Now, our Gambit, nothing new in there as always, because the only thing new is its boosters. For Crucible, we have Supremacy, as well as Relic 66 Labs, Showdown 3v3 Quick Play, Competitive, and Checkmate Control as a variety. And because no Iron Banner, we will have Trials this weekend. Doubt there will be any sort of booster, though. And then into the weekly farming stuffs. So our weekly farming raid is actually, well, last week it was Deepstone Crypt, which means now it is the Vault of Glass, which means Master Mode is once again enabled. All challenges are active, every time lost weapon available, with Solar and Strand Surge, Overcharge Rocket Launchers, as well as Overload and Barrier Champions as usual, and the usual modifiers for Vault of Glass, as well as Recovery Focused Armor. While we are here, it is currently in Operation Seraph Shield for our weekly feature mission, so if you wanted to work on the Revision 0 revamp, or anything from Season 19, which is the old Keltless weapons, as well as the Seraph weapons, that is also available in both Normal and Legend, in case you wanted to go for more things. Like I said, that is it in case you want to go back for some old gear. In Crota's End, we also have the Precarious Balance Challenge, which is second encounter challenge. And as well, because it is primary raid, it is discipline focused with Master Mode once again available. Strand, Solar Surge, again with overcharged sniper rifles. That kind of helps for second encounter challenge. But aside from that, all 3 champions, allegedly. But, you know, it's still Crota's End Master. And then in terms of our dungeon rotation, it's circled all the way back around to the Shattered Throne, which is probably the least required for farming. Now, it is good, let me just spoil this for you, it is good for farming Dawning Essence, killing the final boss over and over again, but aside from that, there really isn't anything aside from just a Pinnacle drop, or maybe drops of the updated rolls of the Dreaming City weapons, because that was something that slid by us once that happened. But in terms of the rest of the world, checking out our seasonal stuffs, our new weekly challenges, basically, week of the season, week 4 quest, Wishing Well for opening chests in River's Lair and the Coil, Foes of the Dragon for breaking Vex, as well as breaking pots in the Coil, Fond Farewells for completing the mission Starcrossed for the Wishkeeper Bow, Gotta Win Them All for completing activities in Vanguard, Gambit, or Crucible playlist, bonus progress for completing Vanguard playlist activities at Hero difficulty or higher, aka Nightfalls, or for winning Gambit and Crucible matches, and then of course, complete any Nightfall strike on Grandmaster. Grandmaster only, not any Nightfall strike. But still limited options here. Here's hoping there's more weeks of challenges, considering we still have... Actually, no, there's less challenges too. We probably won't have that many. But like usual though, there's nothing new with Dawning. That's pretty much the same as it was when introduced. And of course, Wishing All the Best has a new thing, and like I said many times before, Witchkeeper is now active for new seasonal stuffs. But just darting back into old season stuffs, I think the only thing to actually keep note of is, well, actually, I doubt anyone's doing anything Season the Deep. And Savathun's Spire, I don't think has any rotations or the Altars of Summoning, so there isn't much to go off, but there is something that I can cover in the coil, which its order is the Sensorium of the Pavilion, First Steps in the Cell of the Sycophant, Divining Hall, Sensorium, and Reaver's Origin, which that is the path. But then again, I still don't know if all these are new or old, or whether or not any of them are really bad for the back end when you're really light disabled. But on the same note for the coil, for our modifiers, Famine for reduced ammo drops, of course the usual limited revives, and bigger fire team means more enemies. Strength, Galvanized for more health and more difficult to stun. Incoming Void Threats, as well as Martyr for exploders having more health, and Overcharged Sniper and Linear Fusion. So some options for damage in addition to everything else hindering you. But aside from that, in terms of our raid challenges, now I am going to a quick fire for Last Wish. We have Summoning Ritual. For Garden of Salvation, we currently have 0 to 100, which is Final Boss Challenge. For Europa and the Deep Stone Crypt, we have Copies of Copies, which is Atrax Challenge. We already checked with Splicer, and then going into Savathun's Throne World. For Val Disciple, we have Looping Catalyst, which is Rolk Challenge. For King's Fall, for its challenge, we have Grass is Always Greener, which, if I recall, is either Daughters or Totems Challenge. I forget all the names and what they account for. And on Neptune, while we are here, we have Cosmic Equilibrium Challenge, which is Planets Encounter Challenge. And that is everything up until that point, because obviously Crota is still, I think, wait, no, Radar, nope, yep, I'm still on track. But aside from that, while we are in Neomuna, the weekly campaign mission is currently Breakneck, which is an easy one to farm out if you want some stuff. Not so easy to farm if you want materials. And then we also have the Partition Hard Reset, which is the first one, the Sparrow one, because the weekly incursion zone is in the Liming Harbor. Aside from that, nothing exactly new on Neomuna, aside from the new seasonal dialogue that happens in those places way down deep. Now, with that, that's pretty much everything else that is rotated about. I'm pretty sure everything that can be earned from Warlord's Ruin is active now since the week has gone by. It just requires a bit of grinding to actually get access to everything. Now, checking with Banshee for what he has, and thank you, Bungie, for shortening my list of things. Lunalata 4B, a handy stasis viced bow, which I think has been around more than almost anything. It's pretty nifty, good for stasis builds if you need specifically a bow. However, I would recommend maybe, if you don't like the frame, getting the stasis bow from Season of the Defiant, because that is just a harder hitting bow, but this is a good fallback in case you don't have access to that. Speaking of which, we have a high-impact frame fusion rifle, Iota Draconis, which is a pretty solid roll, but at the same time, this is, of course, the last of a new generation where it doesn't have any origin traits. It's still a bit outdated because it is almost 2 years worth of perks that it is old and running on. So, moving on, we have Austringer, which is one of the most PvP kinetic hand cannons there is, getting access to some of the best Crucible-based perks. And while it may not be PvE-based, like I said, it is pretty much Hawkmoon in its original form, but without the bonus damage. So, would definitely recommend it if you are a fan of PvP hand cannons. Then we also have Disparity, which is an aggressive frame burst pulse rifle, which is in the stasis slot as well. This can roll that role of the Garden of Salvation pulse rifle just as a stasis version instead. And personally, I do really like this one. I just need more excuses to actually run it every now and again. Pretty solid and worth the craft, but that is available currently in the exotic mission farming, so if you wish to do that. And then as well, Bump of the Night, a solid enough rocket launcher. While this roll is a mix of burst damage and ad clear, I definitely would do something else if you want just purely a rocket launcher. However, not the chill clip version, because that is essentially nerfed and is no longer as broken as it once was. But still a pretty solid rocket launcher if you just need something. Also craftable, but the weekly farming week is to be seen. Now, before we talk to Ada for our shaders, it is time to get in the Bright Dust store. As I always mention, the Bright Dust store right now is event themed, so if you want anything, make sure to get it while you can. Bright Dust or Silver otherwise, because they will definitely all disappear after next full week. So Getting into it, we have some shaders off the front. Noble Rhyme, which is, of course, available for Bright Dust. And it looks like they fixed some previews. That's actually a pretty solid color. I'm so much a fan of the gold there, but if this was just that pearlescent, I'd be a really big fan of that. And we also have Shark Bite, which I recall showing up last week as well. I really wish Bungie would kind of monitor the repeats on these events, especially when they're only available once a year. Then we have the Sweet Entrance, which is basically popping out of a gingerbread house and a peppermint candy. Silver Ring Kestrel, which is from 1 or 2 previous years, which is a pretty nifty looking ship. There is a real sleek vibe to almost every Dawning ship. But on that same note, it is pretty one-trick pony for Dawning ships. And we also have the Turbulent Weather emote, which I forget if this is new or old, but at the same time, you shake a snow globe, and then you get some blizzardy snow. It is a bit of a long one, but at the same time, let's see, there's weather, you're holding out your hand, and then it's done. Man, there's a lot of build-up for practically nothing. And then into our full thing, shaders, we have Dawning Brilliance, which is a very old one if I recall. Pretty slick, pretty clean, probably looks a little bit better on weaponry. Then we also have Dawning Hope, which is one of those ones that adds a special texture, because if you can tell, there is the kind of urban forest and frost camo that is happening in the silver areas. And another Shark Bite, which if I recall, last week it also repeated twice for the same week. Bungie, please. And then we have Dawning Mirth, which I know for sure was also last week because I recall the name Mirth making me laugh and it being this nice silver and green. Bungie again, please. Then for our trans match, we have the Shower of Gifts, another repeat from last week, as well as the Howling Blizzard, which is a blue rarity shader that has been a little bit retrapped for Dawning. And then we also have the Snowy Entrance, which is first time I'm seeing this in a while, basically popping out of a snowman. Then we also have the Sneaky Thief emote, which I believe is new to this year, which is you being a Grinch in an excited way. But I think it's also an infinite one just because the ones you're going for keep reappearing. And you keep stealing somethings. Oh, stealing Telestos. And eventually it just ends. And then we also have the Falling Flurries, which is going to be a similarly based one to the first one. The only difference is you didn't shake a snow globe. And we have the Cygnus Shell, which is a very solid looking shell. Brand new to this season. It's to match with the armor set that goes with it. And looks just generally good. Very Winter Hawk look. And then we also have the Filigree Rover, which I believe was also available last week. I forget for certain, but still a sleek, odd look. Sleek yet bricky. And one that I know was definitely available, or was it? I think I might have just been reciting what is new. But the Snowmobile Sparrow is available, which does look pretty clean, and of course is spraying snow as it would in real life. And we have an ornament for the Risk Runner Cheer Spreader, which is a very simple, Dawning look. Now, I like the look. I just wish that instead of the Arc Zappy, it would be Snow Zappies or something like that if it's going to be the Cheer Spreader. And on that same note as well, as always, lastly, we have a ghost projection in the form of Ava's Holiday Oven. And to wrap everything up, we have Bergrusia Knight, which is a old Forge shader, one of the few animated shaders for its time during year 2. Can't really see it that well. This is animated, nice purple flowy, although it's more meant for weapons, but even still, it's a lighter purple on weaponry. And we also have Kairos Black, which I recall this being last week as well. I like the teal, the brownish green is a little weird, but well enough. And to wrap everything up, a blue shader in the form of New Monarchy Regalia, which once again is one of the best looking blue rarity shaders that anyone will probably use in a long time. And with that, that is everything for the week. Now, just to keep you in tune with everything, of course, I will be making a video on the seasonal, as well as the bow, in case there's any steps that are complicated that need doing. But aside from that, I will not be covering the 12 because I will be going out of town with family. I will be back next week to be here for next reset. But on that same note, you will not hear anything from me from the holidays, because obviously the 12 comes out Thursday, and I will not be heading home from work on Thursday as I am heading right out to visit family. With that, my name is Matt Scorpion. I hope you all have an excellent holiday and a Merry Christmas. I'll see you then.